Hello, this is Cooking with Caden. Before we begin this video, I want to make a couple things clear. This is my first video. I filmed this a while ago, and the rest of these videos will never be vertical. I promise you that. I will make sure they are horizontal. For this very first video, this one will be a little bit shorter and a little different than the rest of my videos, but they will be somewhat similar to this. So if you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy a lot of the new videos that are going to come out. I'm going to try to publish videos every 2 weeks or so. And make sure you check my Instagram account too, cookingwithcaden_ at the end. Alright, we're starting out the day. Let's get out the smoker to make our wings. I'm going to carry it out. Alright, we're going to be smoking these at 275 degrees. So we're going to let this come up to temperature and see you then. Alright. To season these smoked chicken legs, we're going to be using pepper, salt, balsamic vinegar, crushed red pepper flakes, garlic, turmeric, cayenne pepper, chili powder, ground cumin, and smoked paprika. So if you're at home thinking, oh, I don't have all these ingredients, or is this going to be too expensive to do, you can take out a couple. The balsamic vinegar, crushed red pepper flakes, and turmeric would be the ones I would do. They're not necessary to this dish, but I do like the flavor it gives the dish. So I would recommend them, but they're not necessary. We're going to be now adding olive oil to a bowl. The reason for this olive oil is we're going to end up making a paste with all the spices and ingredients we have in this dish. You'll see this in a second. So to this, we're going to be adding smoked paprika. The smoked paprika gives a good flavor, and it's important to remember, you can do this dish in the oven. Just because it says smoked chicken legs doesn't mean you can't cook in the oven. Cook exactly the same, and they'll turn out great. So now we're going to be adding chili powder. I love chili powder, but I think it's really strong. So I add chili powder when I use multiple ingredients in a dish because chili powder isn't the only flavor. I'm not a huge fan of chili powder on its own, but when there's a lot of flavors with it and chili powder's in it, I love a dish with chili powder. So now we're going to be adding turmeric. The main reason I use turmeric in this dish is color. It takes it from a dark, deep red to a slightly lighter red. The slightly lighter red is more appealing, in my opinion, to the person's eyes. I also like the flavor turmeric gives a dish. In addition to this, it's important to remember, turmeric will stain your clothes. So if you're using turmeric, make sure you are careful with it. So don't get it on any of your white clothes or any clothes, because it would be very, very, very difficult to come out. So after we add this turmeric, we're going to be using ground cumin. I love ground cumin. If you ever smell ground cumin, you would know it's very strong. So it's important to use not too much of this, even though if you add a lot, you won't taste cumin primarily. But the cumin will give a good flavor that you will notice if you take out of this dish. So it's important to have cumin. The most important, though, would be garlic powder. The most important ingredient, I would say, is garlic powder. Well, not really the most important, but this is very necessary. You're like, oh, but we're adding fresh garlic later in this recipe. I don't need garlic powder. No, you need garlic powder. I promise you, both fresh garlic and garlic powder together give a better flavor than either of those on their own. I don't know why, but they just do. So, after this, when we add crushed red pepper flakes, this is not primarily for the flavor or the spice either. But when you see crushed red pepper on your chicken, if someone else is eating this, is like, oh, there's spice to this dish. It just helps your brain associate spice with the chicken. So it's more of a psychology thing than a flavor thing. The flavor is good though. So I add balsamic vinegar here for both the acidity and because this will actually thin up the paste we're making here. I thought the paste was a little too thick, so I was like, ooh, we should add some balsamic vinegar here. And I actually did like the addition of balsamic vinegar in this. So now I'm pretending to ground black pepper in here with one hand. I obviously can't ground pepper with one hand. So I do end up putting in there, but put as much as you want. So after that, we're adding grated garlic. I used a microplane for mine. Make sure to put all this in there. This is about 2 or 3 cloves. Add as much as you want. Put like 5 or 6 in there if you really want to. But I would say the spices more so shine in this dish than the garlic. But garlic, very important in this dish. It's very subtle. You don't notice it, but it's very good. It's important to add your garlic. So after that, we're going to be mixing this. We're going to be mixing this with a fork. So the reasoning behind this is because it's going to make it homogeneous and well incorporated. Homogeneous basically means uniform. So you don't want to have a big chunk of cumin in your dish, and then a big chunk of paprika, a big chunk of pepper, a big chunk of garlic. Definitely not a big chunk of garlic. So I'm feeling the texture of this. I'm like, I feel like this is a little too thick. So what I did here, in a second you're going to see, I added oil. I don't show it, but you'll notice very soon that it gets thinner. But before this, I'm going to add lemon. Lemon adds acidity and flavor. In addition to the flavor, lemon will also add a bit of brightness to this dish. Another reason I'm adding lemon is because it thins up this paste. This paste is way too thick right now, so I was like, not only will this add flavor, it'll thin up the sauce, and it will add acidity. All very important 3 things that will help make this dish come together. So I'm going to be stirring this around with a fork so you can see the texture of it. As you can see, you're like, ooh, this is really thick, which it is. As I said earlier, I'm going to be adding olive oil to this. The olive oil will thin it up. You could just add a lot of olive oil in the beginning, but I recommend adding it now because you can see how much you need. Because this recipe isn't exact, it depends on how many chicken legs you have, a variety of factors. You add the oil as you go on. Because now you can add as much or as little as you need. You might need none. You might need a lot. You might need a little. So just follow about the general thickness. Now here we have our chicken legs. So with these chicken legs, all we're going to be adding to them is salt. We have every other spice in the bowl except for salt. You want to do salt because you want to control how much is in the chicken. If you add a ton of salt into the bowl, you won't be able to control anything. So now that we have salt, we scored the chicken. As you can see, these score marks here. This will let the flavors penetrate deeply, and it gives the chicken slightly more surface area. So now we're going to be roll every single piece of chicken you have into the spice mixture we have. Try to rub it in a little bit until it is fully infused. So after we rub every single one of these pieces of chicken, we're going to put them on a tray, and then we're going to go out to the smoker or your oven, depending on which you have and what you want to do that day. So your chicken legs should take anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours. I flipped these about halfway through. It might be a little less, might be a little longer. That's when you want to flip them. Okay, now that I laid down every single piece of chicken, I'm going to close the lid to this so they can get cooked. You really want this lid to be shut the whole time until you're ready to look at it, which is about now, 50 minutes to an hour in. I'm flipping them. You see those black spots on these chickens? They look absolutely phenomenal. This is what you want the entire chicken to look like. So now these chickens are now done. This is what your chicken should look like. Beautiful black spots all over them on both sides. So if you made it this far to the video, I want to thank you. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you watch this far, comment something like turtles or something. I don't know. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you comment turtles, I'll give you a kiss on the forehead. I don't know.